Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Carrie and this is my December wrap-up. For the month of December, I read a total of 10 books. It was probably my least amount of book reading that I've done in any of the months previous, but I'm not mad at it at all. I really had a pretty good month. It was my birthday month. There was a lot going on with all of the holidays. Not to mention, I was playing around with my Cricut. I have this shirt. You can't really see it all that great, but it has a little book at the bottom and then a girl with curly hair and red glasses because, you know, and it says, I read smutty books because I do. So I'm super excited with how this turned out. It was like one of my very first designs that I was able to make with my Cricut. I have been watching YouTube videos like crazy. That's like all I've been doing for the last couple of weeks is learning how to work this machine. And I made a Yeti cup with the same design on it. I'm just super excited. Like, this is just, it's me. What can I say? And of course my Christian mother was like, what will boys think whenever they see that kind of shirt? And I'm just like, hopefully it'll give them the right idea. No, but anyway, enough of that. Let's get into the actual books that we have to talk about this month. With the 10 books that I have, I read 1 2.5-star read, 1 3-star read, 4 4-star reads, and 4 5-star reads. It was a good month, y'all. So let's go ahead. We're going to go from least favorite to most. And yeah, let's have some fun. My 2.5-star read this month was Daddy Issues by Liv Morris. Yes, Liv Morris. Okay, y'all. So this has every single trope that I love in books, that I mean, like, really, I have been focusing on reading tropes in books that I think I will genuinely love. Like, I'm not here to just, like, bash on books. I promise I'm not. But this book has, like, every single trope. Like, it was, like, should have been tailor-made for me. And I hated it. So, this book is an age gap romance. It is about a girl in her early 20s who is called on to be a nanny for this older, extremely wealthy man who is grumpy, and she had previously met him. She's a tad bit quirky. He's this stoic, you know, hero. He didn't know he had a child. Child was basically dropped off at his door and was like, here you go, there's your kid. And he's like, well, what the heck do I do with it? And so this girl comes in and it's like this close proximity relationship. It sounds amazing, right? Like, it sounds like, Carrie, hello. Like, it sounds like it was made for me. Y'all, this book, there is a line between quirky, cute heroine. Like, I'm all for that. Like, I'm an awkward, nerdy, anxiety-ridden person myself, so I relate to those heroines. I don't mind them in books. I think a lot of authors are able to write heroines like that because a lot of us book nerds are very similar in that we have anxiety, we escape to other worlds so that we can get away from that, right? But there is a thing as too much, like just too much, overdone, where her quirks become super annoying, where I start to really dislike the heroine, where it just is too much. And that is what happened here. This heroine, her quirks were so, they weren't even quirks. They were like, I don't know. They were like illnesses at some point. Like, the amount of quirks that she had was just like, honey, you need to go get help. Also, insta-lovey, like, insta-lovey. Like, they meet in a coffee shop at first, and it's like this love at first sight thing with her, and he's like, why the hell are you taking a picture of me? Back up. And she's like, well, look at you. Of course I'm taking a picture of you. And it just became super quirky and awkward from there, but he ends up not getting her number, and then it's like, of course, in New York City, in this place super big, of all the nannies he could hire, he has to hire her, which, unrealistic, but I mean, I guess it could happen. But it's just, The quirkiness and the insta-love just did not do it for me. 2.5 stars. It was all over the place. Okay, anyway, next book that I have to talk about, my only 3-star read, is The Duke and I by Julia Quinn. Like most of my romance lovers, I ended up watching The Bridgertons on Netflix. Holy crap, that was a good series. Like, it was explosively just hot and steamy and sweet and romantic and beautiful, and the costumes and the dances and everything about it I loved. If you haven't watched it yet, you absolutely need to go do it, because oh my gosh, mind-blowing, beautiful, loved it. So I finished that series in one day. And as soon as I finished it, I was like, I need to read this series. It was so good. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm into historicals, y'all. Like, let's do this. And so I immediately started reading it. Okay, I will say this. I knew about the problematic rape scene before going into this, and so I did not take off a star for that. I mean, a lot of people find it problematic. I understood going in that it was going to have that moment in there, so really, can I take off a star for something I knew was already going into it? No, I really can't. My 3-star review is because I liked the series better than the book, and that almost never, ever, ever happens to me. I always like the book better. In this case, I did not. So a couple of small spoilers to compare the Netflix show to the book is coming up right now. If you haven't watched the Netflix series, if you haven't read the book, if you're wanting to do either of those, you may want to skip ahead a little bit. I'm not going to give out major spoilers, I don't think, but I do want to at least explain why I liked the series better. So, very short review is saying that first, there is no queen and there is no prince in the book compared to the series. And to me, those two characters made this series. Daphne and Simon are both very adorable. It was similar to the books. There was a lot of differences in it. I'm not going to compare and contrast all of them. I'm just not. But what I am going to say is that Daphne fell in love with Simon, and they had this beautiful friendship, and it was really cute in the book as well as in the series. But in Daphne in the series, what she had going for her is, number one, she was known as the diamond. She was known as beautiful. In the book, that doesn't happen. In the series, she had the prince's attention, and she had other men's attention, other than that Weatherby guy who was, slow. Just, I mean, he was known as being mentally slow in the book. And so, other than him, she also had the attention of other males. A lot of it. And from the beginning, not just because of Simon, but because she just did. And especially with the prince being into her, you got to see Simon's jealousy come out a lot more in the series than it did in the book. So whenever Simon was ready to die rather than marry her, we knew for a fact that it was because he didn't want children and not necessarily because he wasn't into her. Yes, there was glimpses of the fact that he liked her in the book, but because there wasn't a prince in the book, it made her seem ridiculously desperate. It made her seem like she was just going to do everything she could to get this guy, and that made the rape scene all that much worse, in my opinion. So all in all, I felt like Daphne was desperate, and I felt like the series is better than the books. Enough said. The next book that I read, 4 stars, is Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. This is the lowest end of the 4-star spectrum for me. So Spoiler Alert is about Marcus and April, and this book has been going around. It's super hyped up, and I like the fact that it has a big girl heroine. You guys know this. I love the fact that there's some representation for women like me in these romance books, because there just isn't nearly enough of that. But you have to seriously, and I mean seriously, suspend your belief in reality to be able to read this book. Like, ain't no man who is a gorgeous actor going to be writing fan fiction about his own character TV series that he's in. I mean, could you ever imagine Sam Heughan from Outlander, like, writing fan fiction and getting together with a big girl? No, you just can't. Like, you just, no. So reality based, this was like reading a paranormal romance to me, because ain't no way. Also, what I really didn't like about the heroine's big size, big girl representation is that she was so offended whenever he would make a simple comment about, she would ask him specifically, like, well, what do you eat there? And he'd say something that was healthy because he's athletic and he's a healthy eater. And she would get so offended at that. Like, but here's the thing. Big girls eat healthy too. Like, I eat salad, y'all. I eat healthy. I don't just eat donuts and pizza 24/7. I had salad for lunch today. Like, big girls, just because we're big doesn't mean that we don't eat healthy. I don't understand where that concept came in with these books, where it's like, oh, you know, just because she's a big girl, like, you don't have to tell her to eat healthy. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you have to, like, take her out for donuts and pizza and Chinese and this and this and this every single day, all the time. Like, she can eat healthy stuff. It's not gonna kill her. So maybe that didn't annoy anybody else, but it really annoyed me, because it was almost like she got ridiculously offended at, like, the mention of healthy food. Like, it's going to harm her body to eat something that is healthy. That's just really fucking stupid to me. So anyway, I gave it 4 stars. It was okay, but I was just a little annoyed at certain aspects in that book. The next book that I have to talk about is Charlie by Ellen Peer. I believe that is how you pronounce that. This book, y'all, so I just finished this the last day of the year, so yesterday, and I gave this one 4 stars, but I really love this one. So something that y'all don't know about me and that I haven't really brought up is that I have an obsession with cults. I watch, like, I don't watch much TV, but if I do, it is more than likely going to be a documentary about cults. I have watched Scientology. I have watched the, what is the name of that group? The Christian group that were in the van. The Family, I think, is what they call themselves. Oh my gosh. Like, cults just utterly fascinate me. Scientology, even Mormons, like, all just cults in general just utterly fascinate me. I have an addiction to it. I will watch it like crazy. I love it. The thought of somebody being able to get into your mind, and, like, these people, a lot of them are super intelligent people, and they are just mind controlled, and it just fascinates me how somebody can get into your head like that. And so this is about a guy who is from Harvard. He went to school in Harvard. He has an extremely rich family. The Nexium cult, this is a perfect example. This reminded me a lot of that, because this guy, he's in Ireland, and he's got a super wealthy family, and this guy is, like, known as a guru. It's basically the Nexium cult, but based in Ireland. And he has a whole bunch of super wealthy families living in this small group, and he is basically just scamming all these people. And so this girl, this guy's grandfather, he has Asperger's syndrome, and he has Tourette's, a mild form of Tourette's, which I love that representation in this. He was a good-looking guy, but he had, some issues, and I love that. So anyway, this guy has a super, ridiculously wealthy family, and his grandfather knows that he's in this cult and has tried to get him out, and he won't listen to him, doesn't believe him. And so he goes in and he's reading this guy's journals from college, and he finds out that he was in love with this girl. And so this grandfather contacts this girl and says, hey, I think you know my grandson. And she starts talking with him, and she's like, yeah, I knew him. And he explains what's going on, and he says, I'll pay you $1 million if you can go and get my son or my grandson out of this cult. And she's like, I don't want your money. I'll go do it for free. She liked him a lot in college. And so she goes over there, and so she's having to insert herself in this cult. And the cult aspect in this series is so realistic. This guy is like saying, what would you do for me? Would you die for me? And like the things that he does in this cult is just so ridiculously perfect. Like, this gal does such a good representation of a cult lifestyle. Loved it. Highly recommend. Okay, the next 3 books I have to talk about, I'm going to talk about them all together because they're in the same series. The first one is The Aliens Ransom, which is book number 1 by Ella Maven. The second one is The Aliens Escape. Ella Maven gave it 4 stars, gave it 4 stars to the first one. And the third book is The Aliens Undoing. I gave this one 5 stars. This is alien smut, y'all. But unlike the Ice Planet Barbarians, where I was talking about how, he woke her up by doing that thing. That did not happen in this book. It wasn't quite so ridiculous. I actually really like this series. I cannot wait to read book number 4. The first 2 are out in audiobook. You can get it at most of your local libraries. I got mine on Hoopla. I adored it. I love the series. It's also on Kindle Unlimited. So if you are into alien smut, this is a really good one. It is a kind of like a Fated Mates. It's very similar to Ice Planet Barbarians, but in my opinion, the writing is just a little bit better. I just really adored this whole series. The first one is about a group of 6 girls who are all abducted, and they are being sent to this alien planet to become breeders, basically. And they end up crashing or something on this planet, and the main guy of this group of these almost motorcycle club type of guys, they're all super tall, big, muscular. They almost look kind of like snakes. They've got tails, they've got horns, the whole alien thing. They are supposed to be there to transport the cargo, and in exchange he gets his brother back. His brother has been abducted, and so as soon as they transport this cargo, which they think is weapons or technology or something, then they will go ahead and give him his brother. Then they find out that it is women. Well, all of their women have died. There's literally no women left. It is just men. And as soon as they see it's women, they're like, we can't give these women over. There's no way. And so it is their romance. They're trying to get their brother back. It's this whole thing. It is a fated mates, almost insta-lovey in a way where it's they know very quickly who each other belongs to, kind of, but it works because it's aliens, right? So anyway, I just really highly recommend the series. I love it. I've read them super quick. They're a little angsty. They're a little dramatic. They're just really well written. And yeah, just the fact that I'm able to go through them so quickly and I'm just devouring the books, I have to give them high star ratings because I just love the writing. They're really good. Okay, so now that I was able to get through those pretty quickly, the next set of books I've got to talk about, I've got 3 books left. They are my 5-star reads. The first book I have to talk about is Nothing But Trouble. This is by P. D'Angelico. Y'all, you're going to hear a lot about P. D'Angelico, from now on. She is a new favorite author of mine. I have now read 5 or 6 of her books, and every single one of them I have rated 4 to 5 stars. High 4 to 5 stars. Every single one. So, this one... So, Nothing But Trouble is a new adult romance. P. D'Angelico writes slow burn. Every single book I've read about her is always slow burn, but the sexual tension is just crackling. You can just... You feel it. You are, the second you start reading P. D'Angelico's books, you're completely immersed in her story, and you just feel this tension between the characters, and it lasts so long, and you're just like so ready for them to get together by the time they do, that it's just it's perfection. So this one is actually a new adult romance, and it is a sports romance. It's water polo, which is something that is not very well talked about in the sports romance section, but it is about water polo. It is about Reagan and Alice. They're in California. Alice is going to school for photography, and Reagan is going to school for pre-med. Both his parents are doctors. He is expected to be a doctor, and he is a great water polo player. He ends up running into Alice with his car. You heard that right, with his car. And he ends up feeling terrible because he like breaks her ankle, and now she's on scholarship, has very little money, and now she's out a job because she can't work, and he feels terrible, and so he like bugs her and won't leave her alone. And he continues to come around, like he's driving her to school, like, and she's just like, okay, you're like a little lost puppy dog, just leave me alone, like I get it was an accident. And so she kind of pushes him away for a while, but she eventually learns to trust him, and they have this amazing friendship, and it is just slow burn and sexual tension, and it's beautiful. Love it. Yeah, I highly recommend this book. The next book is also by Pete Angelico, because she is my main bitch right now, but this is You Can Have Manhattan. It is a slow burn, close proximity relationship. It is also a hate to love relationship, and it is just so good. It is about Sydney and Scott. Yes, Sydney and Scott. So Scott is the son of Sydney's boss. She had met him years ago. He's this playboy. She met him at a wedding, and they try to get together, and something happens, and she hates him. Hasn't seen him in years. And so the story picks up, and she is called into her boss's office. Her and her boss are like really close, and he is her mentor and her friend, and he calls her into his office, and he says, I'm dying, and I want to give my company to you, but the shareholders are unlikely to respond well to that. So what I'm going to need you to do is go and marry my son for a couple of months, or no, I think it's like 3 years. I need you to marry my son for 3 years. That way they don't have a leg to stand on. You will now be the owner of the company. And after 3 years, if you want to divorce my son, then you can go ahead and do that. By 3 years, you should have proven yourself, and you'll, be able to remain as the leader of this company. And she was like, no, not going to happen at first, but this is her mentor, and she will do anything for him. And so she agrees, and she has to move to the middle of nowhere on this cattle ranch where this playboy has now ended up purchasing a whole bunch of land, where this previous playboy has now purchased a whole bunch of land. He is now this rancher, and he's this hardworking man. He's no longer the man that she knew at all, and he is trying to make her life hell because he does not want to marry her. And then whenever he is stuck marrying her, he kind of resents the fact that he had to marry her, and so he is doing some pretty nasty things. And it's kind of like this super hate to love, but the sexual tension, once again, it's just crackling on the page. It is just so freaking good. I loved this book. Gave it 5 stars. There was one little moment in there that I was just like, oof, that went too far. Not right. But of course, by the end, she made it right. So good. I love this book. Love Pete Angelico. Cannot go wrong with this author. And the last book that I have to talk about, my #1 favorite this month, and one of my top favorites of the year, is Gifting Me to His Best Friend by Katie Robert. This is a novella. It is the hottest story I think I've ever read in my life. Like, Katie was like, how best to turn on Carrie? No, really though, seriously, this book is hot. It is about Derek, Grayson, and Emma. Derek and Grayson have been best friends for years, since they were teenagers, I think. And Emma and Grayson have been married for 7 years now, but Emma has kind of always had a crush on Derek, which is her husband's best friend, and they kind of flirt with each other, but it's always very, nothing like super ridiculous, like they're not ever going behind his back or anything, but they do flirt with each other. The thing is that Grayson also has a crush on Derek. And so it is definitely a whole male, female trope where, you know, the males do get it on, because if that's not your thing, then why are you even on my channel? Because if you don't like male on male action, you're not going to like me. Just saying, we aren't going to get along. That being said, this book is so hot, you guys, like seriously, this is a book that I will read time and time again, just for my own personal pleasure. It is so hot. So hot. I'm not going to say anything more than that. It's a very short book. If you are at all into MMF, if you are at all into male on male, you need to read this book. Okay. That's it. That's all I got to say. That was my December wrap up. I only read 10 books, but I'm super happy with that. I hope everybody has an amazing new year. I hope you guys have set your reading goals. I hope you are ready to read and enjoy this year with me. I've got a lot planned. We're going to go ahead and do this shit together. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what you've been reading. If there's anything I absolutely need to read, let me know if there's any books that I've talked about that sounds super good to you. We'll talk in the comments below.